everyone! On the Cocoa Daisy Facebook group, I got a lot of questions last month on how I create these cute little labels for my planner. So I thought I'd do a quick tutorial on YouTube. I'll show you the supplies that I like to use, as well as a hack that I use to make a lot of these labels and save a bit of time. So if you're anything like me, I like to have these labels, lots of them on hand, because I use them for a variety of my projects. And I'll show you a couple of examples at the end of the video, just showing the ways that I've used these labels in the past as well. So the first thing that you'll need is some colored ink pads. The ones that I use are these Altenew mini ink cubes. And I just like these because they come in a variety of different colors and they're a high quality ink that gives very crisp stamping results. So they're also a good price point if you want to buy these instead of buying like a full-sized ink pad. So those ones are just the ones I like to use. Of course, you're welcome to use any colored inks that you have on hand. These are just the ones that I have. So I like to use this swatch sheet from the Platter add-on kit, as well as this free printable sheet, and this first page on my Daisy Mini Dory to pick out the colors that I like to use every month. And each month I go for usually 6 colors. And the way I do that is I have all of my colors swatched out in this binder, and it just is a bit easier to flip through here and look for the colors that I want instead of trying to remember what all the colors look like stamped out. So I'll take this card, for example, and I'll say like, this purple is a good match for this month. That blue looks like it's a good match. So those are 2 of the 6 colors that I picked for this month. And like I said, feel free to use any of the colored inks that you already have. So the next thing that you'll need is a stamp set. The stamp set that I like to use is this Elle Studio Labels stamp set, but a lot of different companies will make these types of stamps as well. So for example, here I have Kelly Stamps has 2 stamp sets that have these types of labels. So this one here is the Love Labels, and this one here is the Label Combo. Everyday Explorers also has a stamp set that has a couple of these labels as well. But the reason that I like to use this one specifically is because, as you can see, the outline on these labels is a bit thicker than on the other label stamps that I have. So it just provides kind of like a more bold, colorful result on my page, as well as the fact that this one has a coordinating die set, which makes it very easy to mass produce these labels if I want to make lots of them at the same time. So normally what you would do when you're wanting to create these labels is you take one of the stamps and you put it on a clear block, as you can see. Then you pick out the color that you want. And you stamp it. And then at this point, you can either take some scissors and fussy cut out the label, or you can take one of these dies. And line it up. Like so. I usually like to put a bit of washi tape here to hold the die in place. If you don't want to use your washi tape, you can also use some painter's tape. And then you can run this through a die cutting machine to cut it out. So I have here the Sizzix Sidekicks die cutting machine. I like this one for, it's a bit more portable than my big die cutting machine that I have upstairs. So you just run it through. And you can see that that cut out the stamped image pretty much perfectly without having to fussy cut. However, as you can imagine, that would take a lot of time to individually stamp out each label and cut it out. So I have a solution for that. So for this, you'll need a stamp positioning tool as well as a bigger die cutting machine. So like your regular die cutting machine would work, because what you need to do is you need to fit all of these dies through. So this stamp positioner is from Tim Holtz. And what the stamp positioners do is they're designed to help stampers stamp clean images. So if you wanted to, you could stamp an image, and then let's say you miss a spot there, you could re-ink it and then stamp it again. However, this is really good for mass producing these labels. So what I do is I keep, when you get these dies in the mail, they come all attached. And I just like to keep most of them attached. So there were a couple of like the smaller ones that were in the middle here. So I just trimmed those out so that they wouldn't cut inside my big labels. But I kept the other ones intact. And what I did was I created this master template. There wasn't any stamping on this. I just used a plain white piece of paper, and I ran this through my die cutting machine like this to create a template on where I should stamp if I wanted to use this die in conjunction with it. So then what I do is I put this in my stamp positioning tool. So you want to put it on the bottom left corner here and just make sure that's aligned. And then you want to take your stamps and just drop them into these spaces here. So for example, I have this stamp here. I already have all of these pre-mounted to save a bit of time, but just to show you, make sure that's aligned. And then when you close the door, it'll pick up all the stamps. And then you can take a piece of paper. This is cut to the same size as this master template. So these are both 5 by 5. And then you want to make sure everything is aligned in this corner here. I'll put a piece of paper under here so you can see what I'm stamping. And then you just go in with your ink pad. So I'm just going to purposely make one of these a bit not as well inked, and you can see how I will fix that mistake a bit later with this stool. So just want to apply an even amount of pressure. And as you can see, these two images didn't quite turn out as evenly as the other ones did. So the good thing about this stamp positioning tool is that you can just go back and re-stamp those images. So I'll make sure it's aligned on this bottom left-hand corner, and I'll just come back and re-ink those two stamps. This is a bit easier to do if you have a full ink pad, but I like these mini ink cubes. So then, again, some pressure. And you can see now I have a bit of a cleaner edge, and that's stamped a bit clearer. So now what I do is I take this sheet and I'll align it up with my die set. You can as well use some tape to hold this in place, But pretty much you just run this through your die cutting machine and it will cut out all of those individual labels without you having to fussy cut them or try to align all these mini labels onto your page. So usually what I'll do is I'll stamp a whole bunch of these. So I have these in a couple more of the different colors, and I'll just run them through my die cutting machine one at a time. And that gives me lots of labels that I can use. So I'll just show you a couple of quick projects that I did. So last month, I usually like to use these labels for like a monthly favorites page. So this is the one that I did last month. This is the one that I have for this month. I also made a card with the July kit colors, and that turned out super cute. And I also use these labels for memory planning, so you can see I have all those labels here. So I hope that was helpful and that you learned a good trick on how to mass produce some die cutting images. If you've already cut your dies apart, you can always, what you can do is you can hold them together with pieces of washi tape, and then that kind of serves as a large die cut piece if you wanted to do that. But I just keep mine attached so that it's a bit easier than having to hold them all together with washi tape. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to let me know. And thanks for watching.